Welcome to the Berrien County Fire Chiefs Association Incident Command Training. Recently, the Berrien County Fire Chiefs adopted a Incident Command Standard Operating Guideline. This is to go along with the progress that we are working on to increase firefighter safety in Berrien County. The members of the Berrien County Fire Chiefs Standard Operating Guideline Committee are Brandon Chirillo, Fire Chief, Lincoln Charter Township Fire Department; Brian Flory, Fire Chief, Lake Charter Township Fire Department; Brian Kazmerzak, Deputy Director, Benton Harbor Department of Public Safety; Tyler Nisley, Captain, Bertrand Township Fire Department; Alan Weck, Fire Chief, Chickamine Township Fire Department; and Bill Whitney, Fire Chief, Waterville Elite Fire Department. Thank you to each of them for their hard work on this project. This training and policy come from standard reference material. This material that has been referenced in making this policy comes from the National Incident Management System, or NIMS, Fireground Command, written by Alan Brunacini, dating back to 1985, but has been updated numerous times since. NFPA 1026, the standard for incident management personnel professional qualifications; NFPA 1561, standard on emergency services incident management system and command safety; and NFPA 1700, guideline for structural firefighting. When we think of incident command, we need to start with the NIOSH 5. These are the top 5 findings in fireground traumatic line of duty death reports by the NIOSH Line of Duty Death Task Force. And this can be summarized with the acronym CARES. Communications, or inadequate communications on the fireground. Think of everything that Berrien County has done to improve communications with the 800 megahertz system. Accountability, the lack of accountability. Having a tag with your name on it at the command post only does one thing. That identifies who is on the fireground. You need to be able to identify 5 things about every firefighter on the fireground to be truly accountable. Who is there? What are they doing? Where are they doing it? Why are they doing it? And how long have they been doing it? You are not truly accountable for your firefighters until you can identify those 5 items. Incident command. Lack of incident command. So when you think about this policy and why it's been done, it's because incident command continues to show up in the NIOSH top 5. Risk assessment and proper risk assessment. That is your initial fireground size up, your ongoing fireground size up, and your follow-up report or 360 report continues to be an issue on the fireground. The lack of a 360, if you look at the number of line of duty death reports that's out there where lack of a 360 is a contributing factor, is astonishing. And SOPs, lack of SOPs or failure to follow SOPs. So we have now 2 SOPs for the Berrien County Fire Chiefs, the Mayday SOP and the Incident Command SOP. But these SOPs mean absolutely nothing if they are not followed by all 27 fire departments in Berrien County in their entirety. The other thing we need to keep in mind as incident commanders is staffing. Staffing is what dictates tactics. Staffing allows you to accomplish either simultaneous or sequential tactics. The goal of every fireground is simultaneous tactics, to where we can be able to accomplish multiple tasks at once. The last thing we want is sequential tactics, where we are only able to accomplish one tactic at a time. So to be successful on your fireground, you need a minimum of 14 members for a single family dwelling, 15 if the aerial is used. A strip mall or a garden style apartment, a minimum of 27 members, 28 if an aerial is used. And a high rise, a minimum of 42 members or 43 if the building is equipped with a fire pump or if an aerial is used. So, and this comes right from NFPA. These are recommendations. However, they truly are the realistic staffing numbers we have to achieve. So how do we achieve that? Obviously, nobody has these number of people on duty every day. However, the box alarm system that is used in Berrien County and is now being requested by both dispatch and the fire chiefs for all fire departments to use is how we solve this system. Calling the closest mutual aid companies, the closest like staffed, like trained units, or how we get the right number of people to the fire ground. The other thing that all incident commanders and honestly all firefighters need to be familiar with is NFPA 1700 Guide for Structural Firefighting. This was released a couple of years ago now and really is the modern standard for fireground operations. And if you look here in the NFPA guide, that's broken down into several key areas: respond safely and pre-arrival factors, initial arrival factors, the 360 size up, declaration of strategy, tactical objectives, monitoring effective operations, resource assessment, and termination. If you have not seen NFPA 1700 or you're not familiar with NFPA 1700, I highly suggest that you go and you seek out more information on it, or see one of the members of the committee and they can supply you with a copy of the standard. The other thing to keep in mind as incident commanders is we get very comfortable responding to single family dwelling fires. It's truly our bread and butter. However, every so often one of us gets either a large building fire, whether it be a warehouse, a Walmart, big box store, etc. We cannot treat these the same. When we treat these the same, we end up in issues with our firefighters when it comes to air management and exits. In a house, we're used to exit distances over 15, no more than 15 feet. However, it could be up to 300 feet inside some of these large buildings to get out. We can't treat air management the same. We can't treat staffing the same. We cannot treat these buildings the same. Every time we treat one of these buildings the same is when we get in trouble. So if you look at this slide here, you can fit 50 3,000 square foot houses inside of one Walmart superstore. So when you think about that is absolutely crazy, the amount of space that is in there. Also, just think in these big box stores, what is in there? And it's pretty much everything. If you go to a Walmart, a Home Depot, a Costco, a Sam's Club, a Meijer, Menards, etc., you can pretty much find anything in there. The other thing to think about is when these, if it is equipped with the sprinkler system, when the sprinkler system discharges and you have high rack storage with cardboard on the high rack shelves, what's going to happen to all those supplies? How is that going to change our operation as well? The functions of command. Alan Brunacini, with his introduction of Fire Command back in 1985, introduced the functions of command, and they still are a key point in both NFPA 1561, NFPA 1026, and Fireground Command, Blue Card Incident Command today. So it starts with assuming command. Rapidly evaluate the situation, that's your size up and your 360. Incident communications, being able to control your communications on the fire ground. Strategy determination, determining whether we are offensive or defensive. There are only two strategies. Either we're moving towards the fire or we're moving away from the fire, offensive or defensive. Assigning companies, developing an incident command organization, evaluating the effectiveness of our incident action plan, and transferring and or terminating command. There are also 8 standard critical fireground factors that Alan Brunacini developed in the original fireground command that stand today. The building, what is the building? What's its size, height, shape, construction type, value, utility characteristics, what type of effect has the fire had on the structure, how much is left to burn. The fire is the easy one of the critical factors. The size, the extent, the location, the stage, how long it's been burning, what's the fire load, what's the perimeter of the fire, and what's our ability to operate on the fire. The occupancy. So the building may have been built for one thing, but may now have a different occupancy type. So what is the specific occupancy of the building? What's it associated, the value associated with the occupancy? Is it open, closed, occupied, vacant, abandoned? Vacant and abandoned are two different things. Under construction, what type of contents that are in there? What's the loss control potential for the fire department? Life safety, location, number, condition, incapacities of the occupants. Resources required for search. You're going to search the Walmart much differently than a single family dwelling. And actually, studies have shown that searching big box buildings do not work. So the large area search is a very time consuming, very staffing intense task. Special circumstances, the time of the day, the day of the week, what's the season, holidays, special events, weather, social unrest can all be add to special circumstances. Arrangement. This really comes into play when we're dealing with apartment complexes, in the arrangement of the buildings and how do we get apparatus near them, especially aerial apparatus. Can we get around all four sides of the building based on the arrangement? Do we have to have longer hose lays for certain buildings just to get around them, to get to other access points? Resources, staffing and equipment on scene, what type of staffing and equipment is responding, what's available, condition of the responders, what's the capability of the personnel, capability of the command staff, what do you have a hydrant or water supply system, what type of built-in protection system are you dealing with? And lastly, action. What effect is the current action having on the fire? What areas are not covered? What are the stage of our operations? Do we have a stationary incident commander in place in a command post? Is there an effective incident action plan in place? What is the organization of the scene? Have we divisioned it out into sectors, divisions, or groups? Are there operating positions effective? Are there enough resources on scene to operate? And do we have layering in place? Meaning, do we have on-deck companies in place to support our interior crews? The other thing to keep in mind with incident command is there is only one command. There is no such thing as EMS command, water command, landing zone command. These fall as branches, divisions, groups, and officers in the incident command system. Operations is another very overused and often unnecessary ICS position for most Type 4 and Type 5 incidents. A Type 5 incident is a incident that the department would handle, and a Type 4 is what one department with mutual aid would handle. So your typical house fire. You're not going to need operations for a Type 4 or Type 5 incident. So we need to stop using these terms such as EMS command, water command, landing zone command. EMS would be the EMS branch or EMS division with the triage, treatment, and transport groups. Water command would be the water supply officer. Landing zone command would be the landing zone officer, the landing zone division, landing zone group, but they're not commands. So there is only one incident commander on the fire ground. This even goes for something such as a rescue task force, active violence type incident event. Be a unified command post with police, fire, EMS. However, there is still only one incident commander. There's not a separate police commander, a separate fire commander, and a separate EMS commander. So please stop using these terms. The goals of the incident command system are pretty simple. We want to be able to pull up to standard conditions, deploy standard actions, and have standard outcomes. By applying the standard risk management plan throughout the incident, and that risk management plan is, we will risk our lives a lot to save savable lives. We will risk our lives a little in a highly calculated manner to save savable property. And we will not risk our lives at all for what has already been lost, both people and property. The first in company officer is mobile command. So, there's a lot going on, especially in companies that may only have 2 or 3 people arriving. That first in incident officer has to be, confident in taking command. He has to be cool and be able to, develop a plan for the chaos that ensues. So there are limitations of mobile command, and we'll talk about those later on into the program. The initial radio report is probably the most important communication we transmit throughout an entire incident. And if you've ever heard the saying, the first 5 minutes dictates the next 5 hours, that's what really goes along with this. The way we size things up initially is what sets the tone for that entire incident. So what does the size up consist of? You can use the acronym CSHOPS to uh, to sum up your size up. Clear dispatch. Make sure they're ready to receive the size up. The size of the structure, whether it's small, medium, large, mega, based on a 200-foot cross lay. So a 200-foot cross lay can cover the entire size of a small building, 75% of a medium building, 50% of a large building, or 25% or less of a mega-sized building. What is the height? 1, 2, 3 floors, a high rise, etc. If you have a high rise, such as River Terrace high rise, you don't need to go on the scene of a mega 10-story high rise. If you say River Terrace, everybody responding will know what you have. The occupancy, is it residential, multifamily, which can be a townhouse, a duplex, a triplex, a quadplex, an apartment building, strip malls, commercial, big box, educational facilities, institutional facilities. Benton Harbor High School, for example, everyone knows what it is. Corwell Health St. Joe, the old Lakeland Hospital, everybody knows what it is. Call it what it is. The problem, what's happening? Nothing showing. If you're nothing showing, you're investigating. Smoke showing. Where is it from? The floor, the side of the building. Working fire, you're stretching a line for fire control and search. Defensive fire conditions, or the fully involved. Strategy, offensive. Even if you plan on going in, you're offensive. So, and where are we entering from? All assignments on the fire ground, and we'll talk about this later, need to be assigned by task, location, and objective. Anything less is a license to freelance. Defensive, you're not making entry, at least initially. You can be also defensive in the main fire occupancy and offensive in the exposures. Where are you setting up? What considerations do you need to take into effect? And then you're investigating. You're going to go recon, take your tools, a can, etc. inside. We must be combat ready, though, at all times, even on fire alarms. We just can't take those for granted because they do turn into working fires from time to time. Take command. So somebody will need to take and name command. So you're going to establish who is command and name command. So, for example, dispatch engine 5-4. Go ahead, engine 5-4. Engine 5-4 is on the scene of a small 2-story residential with a working fire on the second floor alpha side. Engine 5-4 will be offensive, stretching an attack or a hand line through the alpha side for fire attack, search and rescue. Engine 5-4 will have Main Street command. Then there are tactical benchmarks that we try to achieve at every fire scene. All clear in reference to search and rescue. Do we have a primary and a secondary all clear? Or have your primary and your secondary searches been done by different people when at all possible? Fire control. We have a knock on the fire. We've stopped the progress of the fire, but we're still checking for extension. Loss stopped. Salvage and overhaul is complete. No more damage by water, smoke, etc. And we're starting to clear up companies. And then customer stabilization. We take care of the people, board up, getting Red Cross there, investigators, after the fire type packets, etc. The other one that's not on this slide but is extremely important that all firefighters need to take into consideration is water on the fire. Water on the fire is the first tactical benchmark. And what that does is it allows the incident commander on the outside to should start to see changes in smoke conditions, etc. So by marking water on the fire, we should start to see progress. The follow-up report. 360, walk around and walk in. What was a 360 done? Hopefully it was, and if it wasn't, it needs to be communicated that no 360 was completed, so that somebody else can do it. But it needs to be a priority. The fireground channel. Now with dispatch being assigning fireground on dispatch, we should understand when that fireground channel is used, when to change to it. We change to it on arrival, and we do not assign companies on the fireground until they have arrived on scene. Up the alarm, get that box or that second or that third alarm coming early to meet those staffing requirements. Accountability, who is accountability? What is the location of accountability? So, engine 5-4 may be accountability. That's where you drop off passports. Passports do not get dropped off to the incident commander. They get dropped off to an accountability location. The only time would change is if you're reporting to a division. Then you would give your passport directly to that division officer that you're working for. And then any other additional info, water supply info, lines down, pools in the backyard, that type of information. Whenever possible, before making entry, a mobile incident commander should perform that 360 assessment. Fire size, location, and extent is a big piece. Ventilation profile of the structure, looking for flow paths. Life safety profile of the incident. Is there anything that keys us in that we do have a life safety issue, including checking the rear for people hanging out windows, jumpers, that type of thing. Identifying the basement type and the number of stories from the Charlie side. With the prevalence of walkout basements, this is more important than ever. The safest, most appropriate attack position, and confirmation of the initial strategy. The 360, the external 360. So when we take a thermal imaging camera, and I'll play this video as I talk here, we kind of see that thermal imaging camera gives us a different view than what we see with the naked eye. Thermal imaging camera cannot see through glass, however, it can see heat signatures on glass. So that thermal imaging camera gives us that view of the structure that we don't necessarily see. It's going to tell us possibly if we have a basement fire, where the fire in the structure is located. So it allows us to properly deploy our hand lines. And in this case, as we come back around to the front, you notice the heat signature on the glass, and the fire is right inside those front rooms there. The internal 360, same thing. The thermal imaging camera is used as we enter into the structure. We're looking at fire conditions. We're looking to see how that where the heat is, where the heat's coming from, and to start cooling off as soon as we can. A long time ago, we were taught never to flow water on smoke. However, now we know that smoke can be upwards of 1,000 degrees, black fire. So we need to cool the environment. We need to stop the fire's progress. So by cooling the container that we're operating in, will help us when it comes to flow paths, but will also help us when it comes to hostile fire events as well. Fast attack command versus transfer of command. So we talked about earlier that the first company officer is going to be a fast attack incident commander. Um, you cannot be on scene and in command. Somebody on the scene must be in command. Fast attacking IC is not a great position. It's poor radio communications. You're operating at the task level, dragging hose lines, preparing for entry, searching, etc. And you really can't control more than 3 companies. Your own company plus that of 2 others. So that's what the fast attack incident commander should be able to do. Other than that, there needs to be a formal transfer of command to a second arriving incident commander who has a clear picture of all the assignments, where companies are operating, and that second arriving incident commander needs to be in a strategic position. They need to be able to where they can see the building, where they can hear the radio. Operating next to an engine with the pump screaming is not a good place. Even operating in the front yard where people are coming up to you and distracting you, whether it be police officers, civilians, other firefighters, etc. We need to be somewhere where we cannot be distracted. Inside a command vehicle, with a good view of the building is the best option, but even sitting in the front seat of the engine could be another option. Somewhere that is a sterile command post when at all possible. Command transfers must be done. So, what happens when that command officer arrives? It takes the span of control back to normal. We go back to 100% of focusing on command instead of 50% where we're focusing on tasks and command. We confirm company locations. We take that command, we get a CAN report, conditions, actions, and needs from the interior. We notify dispatch of the transfer and confirm the strategy, give any updates, and then escalate the alarm level if needed. So this is how it should sound. Command from Battalion 66. Go ahead, Battalion 66. I understand Engine 54 is on the second floor doing primary search and fire control. Squad 1 is on the first floor doing a primary, and Ladder 55 is on the roof. Is that correct? That's right, Battalion 66. Okay, Command, I'll go ahead and take it from here. Give me a CAN report. I have low heat, light smoke, we have fire control, and we have a primary all clear. I have no needs. Okay, I understand low heat, light smoke, you have fire control, working on primary and no needs. Dispatch from Battalion 66. Go ahead, Battalion 66. I will be assuming Main Street Command. We are still in the offensive strategy. We have fire control and all clear on the second floor. We will keep this at the full still for now. All companies are working. Command must be strategic. And what you see here in these pictures and the couple videos to follow is places where command is not strategic. If you're standing next to the building, if you're holding the door open for firefighters making entry, if you're pushing hose line into the building, if you're standing next to the engine, you're probably not in strategic command mode. Here's a great example of an incident where the incident commander is operating on the roof. You can't see everything going on when you're up on the roof with the saw, handing a saw down, etc. You've lost focus. You can't monitor your radio. You can't see everything that's going on. And as you can see here in this video, there's a lot going on that the incident commander needs to be engaged in. Here's another one where the incident commander is not in a strategic command position. So you have the truck here getting ready to force entry into this building. Here comes the incident commander. You see him in the white helmet there. Got another firefighter out there distracting him. You need to be able to keep your ears on the radio and your eyes on the building. In a perfect world, this is strategic command, where we have an incident commander and a command vehicle, whatever that may be, can even be the engine in the front yard, but somewhere where they're away from what's going on. And then you have division officers working for that incident commander. So other chief officers where they've been assigned either to the Alpha Division, the first floor, the second floor, and have companies working for them. This also limits your radio traffic, as you don't have everybody on the radio, only the division officers, and then other traffic is taking place face to face. Here's
Engine 101 part of that. Giant 7 part of that.
Go ahead.
This report also, we have oxygen tank in an apartment below 47, possibly building number 45, possible hazard for unit 1.
Copy. Let's go ahead and divert everybody from the Goodwill fire to the apartment fire. And backfill that Goodwill fire.
Going around.
Giant 7's on Alpha 7 for roll call Del Camino. We're going to suspend roll call. We've got a working fire with the victim trapped. Giant 7's assuming El Camino command. It's going to be a 2-story garden-style apartment complex. Command post is located across the street on the A side. It's in the offensive strategy, repeating potential victim trapped in apartment 4-5.
Cross street. Open mic on Alpha 2. All units check for an open mic.
It's going to be El Camino and Drayton. El Camino just west of Morse.
Copy that. Open mic on Alpha 2. Check fly on drive. We'll get a water supply and care time and driver. Yeah, it's a call on El Camino. Apartment fire.
101, get that water supply, and you're going to be fire attack group. You're going to have engine 106 working for you.
Engine 101, copy, fire attack group. Battalion 14, engine 51, that is 52, near 6 of 28, 24. Reports are calling people in for rescue. Truck is all rescue, truck 106.
Copy, truck 106, you are all in. You're initiating rescue. I'm going to put a group supervisor behind you as soon as I get one.
Engine Medic 30 is on scene, so if you need trigger.
Medic 30, you're going to assume medical group standby for a potential victim. Want you on the A side by truck 106.
Copy, standby for medical group. Man, if you want that on me.
110, upon your arrival, you're going to assume rescue group. You've got truck 106 working for you. We've got a confirmed rescue. Got truck 106 working for you, your rescue group.
110 is in rescue group. Truck 106 working the call with the time.
Hazmat command, what's your ETA?
7 minutes.
Truck 106 command.
Fire dispatch, D7, calling El Camino.
Are you able to possibly split and give me vertical ventilation if we need it?
Fire dispatch, that's fine.
Copy that. Upon your arrival, you'll be vet group. I'm going to make you roof division shine. Objectives vertical vent all out. Yeah, Rescue 20. If you're on scene now, why don't you go all out to the roof? Put you on vertical ventilation.
Rescue 20 out, all out. Hey, Command 19 is in the center. Where do you wish us to go?
Engine 19, report to fire attack group. That's going to be engine 101. Find out what he needs in the way of additional lines.
105 on scene. Assignment.
105, come up with your gear and your crew to the command post. ASAP.
Command engine 20 on scene. Assignment.
Same assignment as 105. Come to the command post ASAP, fully equipped, ready to go with tools and SCBA.
Command Medic 110's on scene.
Medic 110 coming to the command post with gurney and gear. You're reporting to a medical group who's going to be the medic already on scene at the command post. It's going to be Medic 30, I believe.
Hazmat on scene, Chief.
Copy, Hazmat. You got Rescue 20 working for you. They're going to the roof now. Why don't you assist them with vertical vent? If you don't need both companies to the roof, then check out that positive pressure for me. Just want to make sure we get this opened up. We got a victim right there now, right there. Copy, we got the victim on the command post side. What do you got?
When assigning companies, and I mentioned this earlier, all assignments are done by task, location, and objectives. Task, we want to be very direct with the order. What do we want the company to do? The location, where do we want them to enter and where do we want them to work? And the objective, what are you looking for? What benchmarks do you want them to achieve? And remember AFLAC from benchmarks. Engine 5-4 from command. Go ahead, command. Pull a second line from engine 5-4, enter through the alpha side, and give me a primary search on the first floor. Copy. Engine 5-4, we're going to enter or take a line from engine 5-4, enter through the alpha side, primary search on the first floor. Task, location, and objective avoids freelancing and auto deployment. If you say, come on up and assist, that is a license to freelance and auto deployment. Staging. Level 1 staging. Stay in your rig, prepare for an assignment. Everybody but the first chief, the first engine, and the first tanker or ladder truck are going to level 1 stage. We stay in our rig and we prepare for the assignment. Command will assign based on that. So engine 5-4 is level 1. Copy engine 5-4, you're level 1. Need you to come up, take a line off squad 5-1, etc. So we always level 1 stage at our last tactical position, whether it's a hydrant or an intersection. Command officers do report directly to the scene, and we announce level 1 on the radio. Level 2 staging is set up for box alarm fires or greater, and that is where we have staging in a parking lot. 3 deep or on deck. Part of the Berrien County Fire Chiefs on Mayday training was the on deck model, using on deck. And on deck is just being like on deck in a baseball game. You know, you're the initial RIC company, you're the company in a ready state for the next assignment, and you're part of that 3 deep model. So on deck company, you know, 3 deep is going to be on deck companies, companies at level 1, level 2 stage companies, and we move up when we rotate through the system. So you rotate through, you know, being on deck, coming out for recycle or rehab, go back through on deck. Recycle versus rehab. Recycle, it's 2 bottles max. We come out for a bottle and a bottle of water, and we report back to whether it's a sector division boss or to on deck. We do not go right back to work inside the building without going through the on deck position. Rehab, after your second bottle, you'll notify command that you're coming out for rehab. Hopefully there's a chief officer in rehab. Vital signs will be monitored, and you'll go through a full rehab process, 15 plus minutes, to where you're truly rehabbing before you're going back to work. Incident commanders should subdivide an incident to reduce their overall span of control. Incident commanders must build an organization that supervises the work being done. This improves accountability and helps keep the workers safe. It is a must that we use chief officers and divisions to subdivide incidents to reduce radio traffic, to delegate, and so we have a proper span of control. We can operate, sectors and divisions, groups, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta. It could be floors, first floor, etc. But that division supervisor is kind of they're the person that has taken the priorities and strategies from command, giving them out as task level operations, and then reporting conditions, actions, and needs back to the incident commander. This helps lighten the load on command, and it also reduces radio traffic greatly.
There are 3 operational levels that function at the scene of a hazard zone. They are the strategic level, the tactical level, and the task level. Each of these levels are distinct and have their own set of responsibilities. For the majority of the local incidents to which we respond, the responsibility for managing all 3 organizational levels is handled by a single person. Typically, that person is the officer of the first arriving engine company, and they will become the initial IC for the incident, IC number 1. This fast-attacking company officer is the only person on the entire response who will operate on all 3 organizational levels. The first arriving company officer IC will size up the incident's critical factors, declare the incident strategy, and assume command. IC number 1 has initial command and control responsibility for the entire incident operation on the strategic level. On the tactical level, the fast-attacking IC will implement and execute an incident action plan that addresses the incident's critical factors in order to facilitate the completion of the tactical priorities. For an offensive fire, the tactical priorities are rescue, fire control, and property conservation. Completion of these priorities are transmitted as all clears, under control, and loss stopped. A fast-attacking company officer IC will also directly supervise and assist their crew members with the tasks required to bring the incident's problems under control. Many response systems also call on the fast-attacking IC to assign the next arriving 2 to 3 engine companies and the first-in truck company to support the initial incident action plan. In most cases, the initial attack usually eliminates the incident hazards, and there is no need to upgrade the positions on the strategic or tactical levels. But for incidents that are not quickly controlled, are escalating, or are significant in scope and size upon our arrival, these operational levels must be upgraded as required. The strategic level of command on these types of incidents will usually be the first operational level that is upgraded. When the initial arriving command officer, IC number 2, arrives on scene and transfers command from the fast-attacking company officer IC, they assume responsibility for the strategic level of the operation. This command transfer significantly improves the IC's position and ability to perform and manage the 8 functions of command and the corresponding strategic safety requirements for the entire incident operation. Placing the IC in a standard command post position where they can exclusively focus on incident management enhances and facilitates both the completion of the tactical priorities and firefighter task level safety. The strategically positioned IC must have a system in place where the rate of assigning companies to the emergency scene doesn't exceed their span of control. The IC accomplishes this by developing an incident organization that divides the incident into smaller, more manageable tactical subdivisions. Tactical subdivisions on NIMS Type 4 and 5 local incidents are typically referred to as sectors, divisions, or groups. Sector is a term that is still widely used in the American Fire Service that comprises both geographic and functional work groups. ICS/NIMS uses the terminology of divisions and groups. A division is a geographical subdivision of the incident site, and a group describes a functional work group that is not necessarily tied to a specific location. Sectors, divisions, and groups are interchangeable, applied and used in the exact same manner. Throughout this video, we will use the term sector. Please don't let this create any confusion. Just insert whatever terms your system uses wherever it is appropriate. The IC must forecast where the overall event is going, subdivide the hazard zone into manageable tactical units, and then assign sector responsibilities early in the incident in order to build an effective incident organization. Sectors are most effective when they are assigned in anticipation of their need rather than in a crisis, because it is very difficult to play catch-up in fast-paced, escalating incidents. Therefore, the IC must establish and support sectors as early as possible within the event. The sector system provides tactical supervision, direction, and support to units assigned and operating in a hazard zone. This delegated management also helps the IC to achieve the incident's tactical objectives much more safely and effectively. Utilizing the appropriate sectors will reduce the IC's span of control, streamline and create more effective incident scene communications, allow the IC to focus on the strategic elements of the incident from a stationary command post, give the IC an array of support functions to choose from and match to the particular needs of each incident, greatly improve the accountability system, place strong tactical direction and leadership where the work is actually taking place. And finally, one of the greatest benefits of sectorizing is they improve firefighter safety by having dedicated sector officers directly manage and control the position and function of the operating companies assigned to them. Offensive fires usually don't last very long. We either put the fire out in the limited time frame we have, less than 20 minutes, or we don't put the fire out, we exit the structure, and then get away from the incident problem. Building large incident organizations on offensive fires doesn't happen very often. If 3 to 4 hand lines don't solve the problem quickly, the fire usually takes control of the building and we shift strategies. But there are many situations that can facilitate long duration, over 30-minute offensive operations. Some of these offensive situations include multi-unit residential structures where the fire has extended into the attic space or adjoining units. Other highly compartmentalized structures with fire extension in concealed and common attic spaces. Sprinkler-controlled cold smoke fires. Defensive fire situations where we operate in offensive positions in the exposed structures. Compartmentalized mid and high-rise structures. The IC must automatically, instinctively, and quickly develop and compare the event versus the response profile, and then call for the additional resources required to bring the response model up to effectively engage and overpower the problem the event is creating. As the resource required to bring the incident under control escalates, the strategic level, the IC, and the tactical level, sector officers, must also be supported. This support needs to be included in the regular dispatch system. The standard response elements of additional staff and response chiefs on greater alarms will give the IC the needed resources to implement sector officer, command team, and the section positions that are required to properly manage a hazard zone. Supporting the IC in this fashion strengthens command and keeps the IC ahead of the power curve. Generally, in the front end of escalating or large-scale events, the IC will assign the company officer of the first arriving unit to a work location, initial sector officer responsibility. These initial sector assignments start to subdivide the incident scene early, and they keep the IC ahead of the deployment process. The IC can then assign more operational and command resources to these sectors as the incident requires. When assigning a unit to deploy to and assume geographic or functional sector responsibilities, the IC needs to transmit the location or function of the sector's appropriate name, and the tactical objectives to be addressed within the sector. For structural firefighting, the IC will typically name sectors based on the side of the building which they will be operating on. Some systems use A, B, C, or D sectors for this nomenclature, while others use the basic directions of north, south, east, and west. When arriving to a geographic hazard zone location, the sector officer must size up all of the critical factors in their area of responsibility. If defensive conditions exist in the sector, command must be notified immediately, and the strategy, at least for that sector, must be changed. For offensive operations, the company officer, sector officer, and his or her crew will make entry into the hazard zone. Once inside the structure, the sector officer should give a CAN report, i.e. conditions, actions, and needs, to the IC that includes the following: that they have made it to their assigned area and are working, the conditions in their assigned area, their current actions, the resources or help needed in their assigned area, any obstacles to performing their assigned tasks, and any safety concerns in and around that sector area. Company officer sector officers become evaluation and reporting agents for the IC and will transmit early condition reports in the hazard zone and the needs in their assigned sector. They can also identify any critical unknowns for the IC while performing the necessary tasks required to stabilize the problems in their sector. These CAN reports provide the IC the information required to forecast and stay ahead of the incident conditions, and they help the IC adjust the overall strategy and incident action plan as required. When assigning resources to a sector that is already established, the IC must include the location of the assignment, the tasks required, the tactical objectives to be addressed, and identify the sector officer who they will be working under. Command must then contact the sector officer and inform them what additional resources have been assigned to their sector. Units that are deployed into a sector that has not yet been upgraded with a command officer will need to perform the necessary accountability tasks before going to work. This generally involves dropping off the unit passport in a predetermined accountability location. If formal supervision has been upgraded in the sector, that unit would need to deliver their passport and check in with the sector and safety officer before going to work. Company officer sector officers have the same set of challenges as fast attacking company officer ICs. They both end up in the hazard zone doing task level work while supervising their own crew members. It is immensely difficult to supervise additional resources in an area when you have limited visibility. You are attached to a hose line while accounting for all of your crew members. ICs who assign 3 to 4 more companies to an active sector can't expect a company officer/sector officer to appropriately manage and supervise all the assigned resources while working in a hazard zone. ICs should use the rule of thumb that a sector should be upgraded with a command officer when it has 3 or more units assigned to it. No company officer working boss can directly account for and manage very much resource in a hazard zone, and tactical level supervision should be upgraded as soon as possible in the incident. Upgrading sector supervision from a company officer to a command officer needs to be a well-practiced and regular occurrence on the incident site. When sector supervision is transferred from a company officer to a command officer, it elevates sector management with a true tactical level boss, and this greatly facilitates the completion of the sector's objectives and firefighter safety. Sector officers are responsible for the following basic functions: sizing up the sector's critical factors, applying the risk management plan, making sure the sector actions are always matching the conditions, developing the sector's incident action plan within the overall incident action plan that facilitates the completion of the tactical priorities for the assigned area, supervising the work in their sector, redirecting the sector's activities as required, requesting additional resources from the IC as required, always maintaining a tactical reserve within their assigned sector, coordinating with other sectors as required, providing progress reports to the IC, monitoring personnel safety, accountability, and welfare in their sector, and decommitting companies as operations are completed.
CAN reporting conditions, actions, and needs. So the condition that we're operating in, what are the actions that we're taking, what needs do we need? And the one that we usually forget is needs. We're very good about reporting our conditions and our actions, but needs is the piece we have a tendency to forget. Additionally, conditions, actions, and needs are structured around 4 different types of fireground communications: roof reports, status changes, priority traffic, and mayday traffic. The needs associated with status changes: what is our air supply? The need to be reassigned. We've completed all objectives, we have good air. The need to exit and recycle, we're out low on air. The need to be replaced in the area that we're working, or leaving another unit in charge of the area where we're working. For example, engine 1 is below 50% air and needs to recycle. Engine 2 will remain and continue overhaul. No other needs in alpha. Situations that require priority radio traffic. Unable to complete a critical assigned task or tactical objective. Urgent need to be reinforced backed up to complete an assigned task or tactical objective. Victims that are encountered. Roof reports containing information such as unstable roof, imminent collapse, attic fire. Working concealed space fires not easily controlled by the locating unit, and sudden significant events, flashover, backdraft, collapse, etc. These drive priority radio traffic. Needs associated with priority radio traffic. Means of egress to extricate a victim. Was the search completed? So if we found a victim, does the search still need to be finished on a floor or a room or etc.? The need for EMS. The need to be replaced in our assigned work area. For example, Ladder 1 has located a victim on the second floor and will exit the first floor alpha side with the patient. We will need EMS on the alpha for patient care and a company to complete the search on the second floor. When we give needs reports like this, it really emphasizes the need for Medic 1 as well, or SMACUS, to be on our fireground channel on the fireground. Mayday radio traffic. Mayday radio traffic constitutes the highest priority radio transmission that can be made on an emergency scene. Hazard zone communications remain on the same channel. No PAR policy during a Mayday. We maintain radio discipline, silence following the Mayday transmission, and radio traffic should be limited to Mayday-related communication, status changes, and priority traffic. Strategic shift mechanics. Part of incident command is being able to shift to a defensive strategy. So we will transmit an emergency tone that can be either done through dispatch or through radios that are programmed with that feature. Announce to all hazard zone units that we're shifting from the defensive strategy. All units exit or abandon the structure. Exit is an orderly withdrawal. We don't sound the air horns for an exit the structure. Abandon the structure is where we sound the air horns, the 3 blasts of the air horns to abandon the structure. Any way possible we get out of that structure, the building is failing. All units report PARs upon exit, and dispatch repeats the emergency traffic report verbatim. Clearing emergency radio traffic. Once the strategic shift has been completed, the incident commander should contact dispatch, clear the emergency traffic. This announcement should include Main Street Command to dispatch to clear emergency traffic. Go ahead, Main Street Command. You can cancel the emergency traffic. We have a PAR on all units and are continuing in the offensive or defensive strategy. Thank you for taking your time to participate in this Berrien County Fire Chief's Incident Command Policy Training. If you have any questions, please reach out to your fire chief or a member of the Berrien County Fire Chiefs Standard Operating Guideline Committee. Thank you and stay safe.